Hi everyone, it's Nanette. So today I'm going to show you how to make these really cool little books with metal tape. So it's a really quick and easy gift that you can make if you want to make something for a teacher's gift, a little notebook for a friend. It's really quick, really fun. It's not expensive at all and you only need a couple of supplies. You can also use the same technique to make little gift boxes. And it's a fun craft to get the kids involved in too. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is some craft glue and our embellishments. So the layout I want on my book when it's finished is more or less like this. And so I'm just going to copy that design onto my little piece of cardboard that we're going to mount on our book at the end. So to get started, I'm going to stick my little flag pieces little bunting, and you don't need heaps of glue because you want it to dry relatively quickly. Oops. Okay. I also found these really cool little alphabet stickers, and they work really well. They give a lovely look. So before I stick them on, I'm going to put some texture tape on the bottom of them. So I'm going to find the beginning of my, well, it might actually be easier to find on a different roll. There we go. And so I'm going to stick this on. Just cut away the excess. And then we'll just apply our little alphabet stickers on top of that. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly stick on all the other bits and pieces, and then we'll get back and I'll show you how to do the foil tape bit. Okay, the next step in the process is to cut our foil tape and then stick it on. It is double-sided, so it applies really easily. So I've pre-cut a couple of pieces. It cuts really easily with scissors. I'll just show you quickly like that. And normally I don't use pieces bigger than this, just because when you apply it over your shapes, if you have angular shapes or round shapes, sticking a big piece over might mean that you can poke a hole through it. So I use pieces like this or even smaller. You can also tear the tape, and that, if you have a closer look, it just makes it easier to peel because it is a little bit fiddly getting it off. So depending on which look you want, you can either cut it or tear it. Okay, so then we're going to start applying it, and because it's double-sided, it is sticky and it goes on really quick and easy. So I normally just start at one side of it and then make sure I have a couple of inches or millimeters on the side just to get it over, to fold it over neatly. And then I use my little stick, my little paper pencil, and I just fold it over the edges nicely so that when we apply it onto the book, it actually sits flat. I just cut away that bit. Okay, and this is where your paper pencil comes in really handy. So you just rub it on there and make sure that you can see your shape nicely. And so I'm just going to do this, continue layering all the way around. So you will have something that looks like this at the end. So it will overlap, but it gives a really nice design. Actually, it just creates some interest. You can see on this bit, I've applied some textures and design. So I'll quickly apply more metal tape over it. Let me just show you another piece. I want to show you how it looks when you apply it over the tape. So let's say like that. When you rub over the texture tape, this beautiful texture comes through, and when we paint it later, you'll see it just creates some really cool depth and interest on your project. So if it happens that you do stick a hole through your metal tape, because it is quite thin, don't fear, you just apply another bit over it. Okay. So you just continue like that all the way around. And I'll be back in a second. Okay, next I want to show you how the letters come through. So this piece I actually put down vertically. And so again, I just loosely place it on top of my letters and then rub over it from one side to the other so that we can get a really cool, neat look. Just like that. I'll show you how to do the flowers as well, because they can be a bit fiddly. So actually I'm going to do them with little bits of metal. So we'll start and just finish that top bit. Okay, so the key thing with the flowers or rounded shapes is to work quite gently and to not go too deep into these the indented bits. So as soon as you can see the shape of the flower taking place, coming through, that is a good sign to stop. So don't go all the way to the bottom of the cardboard, just sort of let it go loosely over the flower, otherwise you will definitely stick a hole through it, which we don't want. It's a good idea to start from the center of the flower and work your way out. And then defining it once you can see the shape coming through nicely. And again, we're just going to fold this piece over the edge over and flatten it. Whoopsie. Made a bit of a bend. Like that. Okay, there we go. The whole little piece of cardboard is now covered with metal tape. And the next step is the fun part. So this is where we put our own little spin on it with doodling or pattern rollers or whatever you want to use. So depending on what you have handy, if you have stylus tools, I'll show you how to use them. Let's start, for instance, just with one of these little sticks. You can even use a pencil. And so what you can do is, what I like to do, I'll show you on this book sample, is for every little square that I stuck, I like to just do a different pattern on there. But you can do whatever suits you. This is where you put your own spin onto things and make it your own. So for instance, with my little skewer, now you just draw on it. And because it's cardboard, it gives way a little bit. And when we paint these designs at the end of it, the paint is going to lie in those grooves, and depending on whichever color you use for your paint, It's just going to make your design stand out. Okay, so if you have a little stylus tool, you can use these little ball tips. You can see they've got different size ball tips, and so you can use them to do dots like that, or even tiny ones at the top. And if you do happen to have some pattern rollers, I've collected these over the years. You can use pattern rollers that you use for royal icing. You can use those, or sometimes they use them for pottery as well. So if you happen to have some of these, it just makes it really quick and easy. And you just roll them onto your design now. So something like that. I'll show you a different one in between. So let's say we want to use that one and this one on the same pattern. And if you don't have them, no sweat. You just continue to use whatever you have handy. And just continue doodling your designs until you're quite happy with it. Okay, there's my little design. I've put my doodles on it, all my little pattern work. And the next step in the process is to paint it. So I'm just going to layer some newspaper on my workboard. And we only use craft paint. So craft paint, poster paint, any acrylic paint that you have handy, any color that you like. So just a normal brush. And when you paint over it, you just want to make sure that you really get into all those grooves. Because as soon as we wipe the paint off, that's where it's going to sit. And that's what makes your design work pop. So we just paint over the whole thing. So when we paint over this with black paint, it gives you that pewter look. So it's also called faux metal embossing, because it looks like the real deal, or almost. And it's really fun and easy for the kids to do. It's a fun little project to tackle when you need a quick gift. It doesn't take long at all. And in no time, you can have a beautiful handmade little gift for someone. So just like that. So now we just leave it to dry for about a minute or two. So you can see if I touch it, it's still quite wet. So we just want it to become a little bit tacky. So I'm going to leave it for a minute or two, and then I'll be back to show you the next step. So our paint has had a few minutes to dry, about 2 to 3 minutes. And for this step in the process, you might want to wear some latex gloves if you don't want yourself to get too dirty. It is a bit of a messy job, this. So if not, don't worry. It's acrylic paint. It washes off really easily. So you'll need some paper towel. And now we're just literally going to wipe off the paint. So I normally just wrap it around my finger once or twice, just like that. And we're just going to rub it off. So you just continue until you like the look of it. I like mine to be quite shiny. So I'm just going to continue rubbing off the excess paint. Just like that. If there's a bit too much paint, like there in the flower, you just get in there a little bit more and just continue until you're happy with the way it looks. Okay, I think for me that's it. And so the last thing I'll show you is how to add color. Stay tuned. Right, so we're on to the last step in our process, and it's only to add color. And so for this bit, you can rate the kids' coloring box, and if they have some Sharpies or permanent markers, go and grab those, and I'll show you what we'll do. So I think I'm going to start with my letters, and I'd like them to be this color. And so you literally just color over your letters. So because it's a permanent marker, it's a permanent ink, it's just going to take a second or two to dry. But once it's on, it's on. And if you want an extra layer of protection, you can probably just put on some clear lacquer spray. I'm not too happy with the way that color is turning out. Let's try this one. Okay, so it hasn't dried yet. You can just wipe it off and then go over it with the color you like. And I might want to add some color to my little flags. Okay, so you just continue until you like the look of it, and then I'll show you how to seal it with a clear spray. So now that my little design is colored, everything's finished, I just want to give it a quick seal with some clear lacquer spray. So again, just put it down onto your newspaper. This is the one I'm using today, so it's Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Clear Satin. There's also a matte finish or a gloss finish, so whichever one you've got handy or whichever one you like, just give it a good shake. Hold it a few inches away from your project and just give it a quick spray. Let it dry and that's it, then we're done. So the last step is just to show you how to add it onto your booklet, and then you're ready to hand it over. So the last thing we'll do is just to mount it on our notebook, and for that we'll need some contact glue. I just prefer using contact because it sticks metal onto every single surface, and even though this is just cardboard, I still like it to have a really good fix. And we don't need heaps of glue, but just make sure you cover everything, the whole surface, and especially close to the edges because we don't want them to lift. And so just like that, just a tiny amount all the way around, just to ensure that it sits properly. Okay. So just hold it down for a second or two. Press down where you see any corners lifting. Just hold it down for about a minute, and voila, we're done.